The moment I stepped into the office, my manager spotted me, his face filled with anger. He marched toward me like a bulldog.
Charlotte, where the hell have you been?
I'm sorry. There was this pregnant woman being robbed, and I helped her. Before I could finish, he slapped me harshly across my face. I stood there, stunned, too shocked to even respond.
You think I care about your excuses?
He slapped me again.
You're late. You think you can just stroll in here whenever you feel like it?
I couldn't say a word. The rest of the office was silent, everyone watching, but no one daring to intervene. This wasn't the first time he had hit someone, but it was the first time it had happened to me.
You're fired. Get your things and get out. I don't need lazy idiots like you ruining my team.
I didn't know what to say. I felt numb. I don't think I'll ever forget that day, the day my life changed in ways I hadn't imagined. It all began on a normal morning, a day I was meant to be at work like any other. My job was nothing special, an average desk job at a company where I reported to an increasingly hostile and unreasonable manager. But even with that, I took pride in my work. I was punctual, never complained, and did my best to meet deadlines, no matter how unfair the demands were. My manager, though, seemed to always have a reason to single me out. It felt like I was his personal punching bag. There was that time I had stayed late to finish a report for him, and when I asked for a slight adjustment in the deadline, he laughed in my face.
You think I'm here to babysit you, Charlotte? If you can't do the job, maybe you should leave. We don't have room for weaklings here.
I remember blinking, not saying a word in my defense. There was no point. He was the kind of man who got off on making others feel small, so I just nodded and stayed an extra 4 hours to finish the work. No overtime, of course. He didn't believe in that. Then there was the time he caught me talking to a colleague during lunch.
This isn't a social club, Charlotte. You come here to work. If you have time to chat, I'll give you something more useful to do.
I wasn't even on the clock then, but again, I didn't bother arguing. He had made life miserable for others who tried. People talked about how he was always finding new ways to withhold bonuses or delay salary payments. Then one faithful day, as I was walking to work, something unexpected happened. I was about to cross the street when I saw a pregnant woman, maybe about 7 months along, walking ahead of me. She was alone, carrying several shopping bags, probably groceries or baby things. At first, it didn't seem like anything was wrong, but then, just as she was about to turn the corner, 2 men approached her. Their faces were covered by hoods, and I saw them eyeing her like predators sizing up their prey. They reached her before I could even shout a warning.
Get away from me!
One of them grabbed her purse and she stumbled back, almost falling over. I couldn't just stand there and watch. I ran over, not thinking about the consequences or the fact that there were 2 of them and only 1 of me. Hey, leave her alone. I barely had time to process what happened next. One of the men turned to me and swung his fist. I dodged the punch. I grabbed the other man's arm as he tried to snatch the woman's purse again, pulling him back with all my strength. There was a brief struggle, but soon, people nearby noticed the commotion, and the robbers panicked. They took off, dropping the purse and some of her bags as they ran. The woman was shaken, holding her stomach as she tried to calm herself.
Thank you so much. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in.
I nodded, out of breath, but relieved she was all right. It's okay. You're safe now. We called the police, and luckily, they arrived within minutes. The robbers were caught not too far from where they had run off, and they were arrested on the spot. The woman thanked me repeatedly as she made sure everything was accounted for.
I owe you. Can I at least have your name? Maybe your number, so I can properly thank you later?
I hesitated for a second, but gave her my contact details anyway. She insisted on knowing where I worked, which I found a little odd, but I told her the name of the company, and even mentioned my department.
I'll make sure to visit and let your boss know how kind you were. Take care.
I was happy I had helped her, but I was also aware that I was going to be late for work. My manager wasn't exactly the forgiving type, but I hoped he would understand once I explained the situation. I was wrong. The moment I stepped into the office, my manager spotted me, his face filled with anger. He marched toward me like a bulldog.
Charlotte, where the hell have you been?
I'm sorry. There was this pregnant woman being robbed, and I helped her. Before I could finish, he slapped me harshly across my face. I stood there, stunned, too shocked to even respond.
You think I care about your excuses?
He slapped me again.
You're late. You think you can just stroll in here whenever you feel like it?
I couldn't say a word. The rest of the office was silent, everyone watching, but no one daring to intervene. This wasn't the first time he had hit someone, but it was the first time it had happened to me.
You're fired. Get your things and get out. I don't need lazy idiots like you ruining my team.
I didn't know what to say. I felt numb. I had just been fired for saving someone's life. As I packed up my desk, I could feel the eyes of my coworkers on me, but none of them said a word. They were afraid, and I couldn't blame them. I left the office that day with a heavy heart. My manager had always been cruel, but this was a new low. I went home, devastated. What was I supposed to do now? How was I supposed to pay my bills? Maybe if I hadn't stopped to help, I wouldn't have lost my job. But no, I shook the thought away. I had done the right thing. 2 days passed, and I was still trying to figure out my next steps when I received a phone call.
Charlotte, it's me, the pregnant woman you helped the other day. Could you meet me at your company today?
I can't. I was fired, and I'm not allowed on the premises anymore.
Come anyway, trust me, just come.
I hesitated but decided to go. When I arrived at the company, I was nervous. What if my manager saw me? Would he have me thrown out? But when I stepped inside, the receptionist greeted me with a smile and directed me to the CEO's office. I wasn't sure what was going on, but I followed her instructions. When I entered the CEO's office, I was surprised to see the pregnant woman sitting there, smiling warmly at me, and beside her, the CEO himself.
This is my husband, and I wanted you to meet him because we found out what happened to you.
She went on to explain how she had inquired about me with the manager after our incident, but the manager had lied, telling them that I had been fired for being irresponsible. But that wasn't the end of the story.
Luckily, one of your co-workers told us the truth. In fact, several of them did. They told us about how your manager has been treating everyone, how he delays payments, withholds bonuses, and mistreats the staff.
We were furious when we found out. That man has been abusing his position for too long, and we're going to deal with him today.
They called a company-wide meeting and gathered all the employees in the main hall. I stood to the side, unsure of what was going to happen next. The manager walked in, his usual proud expression plastered on his face, but that quickly faded when he saw the CEO standing in front of everyone and his pregnant wife beside him.
We've received some disturbing reports about your conduct as a manager. Also, the day you fired Charlotte, she was in fact helping my wife. Your time here is over. What? These are lies. Charlotte was irresponsible. She lied. Oh, shut up. You've been mistreating my staff, underpaying them, and abusing your power. I have seen videos of you even physically abusing them. I should have fired you a long time ago. Now, hand over the keys to the company car.
The manager was shocked, but he had no choice. Under the watchful eyes of the CEO and all the employees, he handed over the keys.
You're no longer a part of this company. Effective immediately, you're terminated. Please, there must be some mistake. I've been loyal to this company for years. I made sacrifices. Enough. Your loyalty was to your own ego, not this company. You took advantage of the people who trusted you, and it ends today. Security.
2 guards appeared at the door.
Wait, Charlotte, you know me. You can tell them, can't you? I wasn't that bad.
I stared at him with anger. There had been so many times I had wished for this moment when he would finally get what he deserved, and now it was happening. I could still feel the sting of his hand on my face, the humiliation of being fired for doing the right thing. No, I didn't owe him anything. You treated us like dirt. And now you're getting what you deserve. Leave our company! The guards immediately grabbed him and dragged him out of the hall and the company. He wasn't allowed to take anything. It was a disgraceful termination.
You all did the right thing. We won't let someone like that hurt others anymore.
From this day forward, things will change around here. We're going to rebuild trust, and we're going to make sure everyone is treated fairly. We've been blind to what was happening, and for that, I apologize. Charlotte, I know you've been through a lot because of that man, and I want to make it right. You've shown incredible integrity and bravery, not just in helping my wife, but in standing up to injustice. That's the kind of leadership we need in this company. We'd like to offer you the position of manager. I think you'll do a far better job than that old fool.
I couldn't believe my ears. Me? A manager? It was shocking. But then I realized something. I had earned this. I had worked hard, endured hardships, and now I had the chance to make things better, not just for myself, but for everyone who had been mistreated by the previous manager. Yes, I'll do it. The employees clapped, some of them coming over to shake my hand, congratulating me on the promotion. It felt unreal. Just days ago, I was fired and humiliated, but now I am the new manager.
There's one more thing we want to do. We've been speaking with some of the employees, and we want to make sure everyone gets the back pay they're owed. We'll also be restructuring the bonus system to ensure fairness.
Everyone couldn't stop thanking them. I stepped into my role as manager, and everyone cooperated with me to make the company a better place. The former manager visited a week later and gave an apology to everyone in the company. Afterward, he called me and the CEO, requesting to be brought back in.
Since I've apologized, I deserve my position back. I can't imagine not working here, and I'm sure Charlotte knows that I'm a better manager.
That was it for the CEO. He got angry and slapped the former manager.
She's the best for the work. You can't compare to her. Now get out of here, and don't ever show your face here, or I'll involve the cops.
He went down on his knees, begging. I immediately called security, who chased him out of the company with dogs. Those who saw him running burst into laughter. It was quite a funny scene. Some even recorded how he ran, fell, got back up, and how his pants tore as he ran. Videos of him fleeing from the dogs were posted online, and kids made fun of him, giving him the nickname, the Dog Runner. That wasn't the last time I heard of him. The next time was 2 years later. He was now working as a receptionist at a hotel where I was having a meeting with some clients. I got to know that his wife and children had left him over domestic abuse. His wife had sued him and left with half his property. He was required to work because he was mandated to take care of his kids. My colleagues and I were leaving the hotel when we heard a loud noise. When we looked, it was my former manager. His boss had just slapped him. When he saw me, he quickly hid his face. I laughed loudly and walked past him. I would have spoken to him, but a man like him doesn't even deserve to hear my voice. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment. We'll do our best to reply.
I couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront her. She tried to deny it at first, but when I yelled at her, she was forced to start talking. She burst into tears and went on her knees.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Joe. Forgive me, please. It wasn't intentional.
Of course, I was touched by her tears. I couldn't bear to see her crying, but I also needed to know who she cheated on me with and why she did it. When I asked her, she only cried more, her body trembling uncontrollably. Tell me, who's it?
It's your brother.
It felt like my world stopped for a moment. I couldn't believe my ears. How could Bob be responsible for my wife's pregnancy? I grew up with a selfish brother. A brother who never praised me, but never failed to criticize every little mistake I make, and even take advantage of them. My name is Joe, and I have an elder brother, Bob. Bob was born just 2 years before me, but he boasted with and took advantage of the age gap, like it was his life goal to do so. We went to the same school, and I hated every bit of it. I didn't like the fact that I had to swallow Bob's stupid behaviors at school. He would often come to me with his friends, strangling me and pushing me to the floor roughly in pretense of being playful with me. Bob was just too rough. I couldn't say if he was intentionally extra with me, but I never enjoyed it. Once, I was eating in the school's cafeteria, and he suddenly walked up to me and kicked the table, making my glass of milk fall and pour on the table and my thighs. I was so angry, but I couldn't fight him. We were at school, and it would be embarrassing to fight with my elder brother there. So, I kept mute and simply left the cafeteria, ignoring his loud, mocking laughter. When we got home and I confronted him, he blew up. Are you crazy? You're so ungrateful. I'm 2 years older than you, yet I play around with you like we're age mates and all you do is complain. You're so immature. I was so annoyed because he blew everything out of proportion. I simply wanted him to reduce how rough he was with me, but he was taking it differently. When I tried to explain, he slapped me. I was shocked. The next time you're disrespectful to me, it will be more than a slap. You're so foolish and ungrateful. When my parents returned, I reported the case to them. But when Bob was summoned, B began crying. I just wanted to be nice to him. No one talks to him at school. I and my friends play with him so he's not left out. How's that bad? Even though we're older than him, we don't mind playing around with him. How does that make us bad? I couldn't believe my ears. I had friends at school. In fact, most of my friends stopped being close to me out of our class because they were afraid of getting beaten up by my brother and his friends. Now, how could I explain that my brother was lying when they were already hugging and petting him?
Joe, apologize to your brother, love. Don't be so mad at him. He's just looking out for you, son.
I used to be rough like that with my brothers too. It's just how boys joke around. Don't be mad at your brother, okay? Did I have any choice? No. I couldn't be seen as a weakling before my parents. I forced myself to take his silly jokes until I finally graduated high school. I'd grown up to be very handsome and manly, but Bob was 2 times better. He got a girlfriend the first year he resumed college. At the time, I was still at home. Whenever my parents were out to work, Bob would bring in different girls to our house. I would try to advise him against doing that, but he never listened. How dare you tell me what to do? I'm 2 years older than you. You have no right to dictate how I live my life to me. I learned to shut up quickly. One day, a girl came visiting. All 3 of us were in the living room, watching TV. I didn't say a word or do anything except watching the TV. Shockingly, we heard the sound of my mom's car, and we all froze. My parents had gone out in my mom's car, and they'd returned. As if planned, Bob quickly got off the couch with the girl, and they rushed to me. He pushed her on me and stood in front of us, speaking to me like I committed an offense. And when my parents came in to meet the sight, I saw how their faces fell. They seemed to misunderstand what was happening, just as Bob wanted. You're bringing girls home now, Joe? I'm so disappointed in you. At that moment, seeing my mom's face crushed me. She was even more disappointed.
I feel so embarrassed.
Mom, Bob's lying. I didn't bring her home. I don't even know her. I swear to you, Mom. Believe me, please. Are you calling me a liar? You both were sleeping on the couch and I told you up to get dressed properly. What have I done wrong this time? After my mom left, I felt so bad. I quickly stood up and ran to my room where I didn't hesitate to cry as much as possible. Later on, I explained to my parents, and they realized that Bob had lied. However, I begged them not to talk about it to him, and they didn't. In his 3rd year in college, Bob began exhibiting even worse behaviors. He stopped returning home daily and only came on Saturdays. When my parents asked him, B lied that he was living with his friends. It was good for me because I didn't have to face his silly behaviors anymore. Soon, he added more. He would smoke at home whenever my parents were out and call me a weakling whenever I refused to join him. Once, our parents caught him smoking and drinking in the living room. I'd expected them to lash at him or something, but they didn't. They only asked him to be careful and eat healthy food. I was quite surprised, but I let it slide. He was old enough. Years later, we're finally grown men, and I'm married. My brother had gotten nearly completely out of control. He dropped out of college in his last year, left home to wherever. He suddenly came to my house one day. According to him, he was ready to turn a new leaf. I was impressed by how different he sounded, so I offered to help him. One time, about 2 weeks after, I had a fight with Bob. He'd come to visit me, yet he was trying to be all bossy, and that was annoying me. I tried to calmly ask him to stop, but he got mad. What? Are you telling me how to behave? I'm 2 years older than you, so I can do whatever I want. There he went with the age gap thing again. I couldn't take it anymore. Until when are you going to keep mentioning this? You're 2 years older than me, yes. Now act like it. We kept going back and forth until Bob left my house with pure anger. When my wife returned home from work, we also got into a small fight. I'd gone to bed that night with a hurt heart. After that one night when my wife didn't pass the night with me due to our fight, things took a strangely different turn. My wife, even after we settled our issue, would return home very late in the night, against her usual time. My brother and I hadn't settled our fight, but he would often come over to my house, have little conversations with me while giving me silly smirks. About 3 months later, my wife suddenly announced her pregnancy. I frowned. How was she pregnant when we hadn't had sex in 3 months? I tried to push it aside, but it kept bothering me. I faked happiness when she gave me the news, but I knew the pregnancy wasn't mine. She cheated on me. I managed to hold it in until her 6th month of being pregnant. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront her. She tried to deny it at first, but when I yelled at her, she was forced to start talking. She burst into tears and went on her knees.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Joe. Forgive me, please. It wasn't intentional.
Of course, I was touched by her tears. I couldn't bear to see her crying, but I also needed to know who she cheated on me with and why she did it. When I asked her, she only cried more, her body trembling uncontrollably. Tell me, who's it?
It's your brother.
It felt like my world stopped for a moment. I couldn't believe my ears. How could Bob be responsible for my wife's pregnancy? It's not possible. You're joking with me.
I'm not, Joe. He's responsible for this.
She further explained that she'd run into Joe. That night we fought. They'd gone to his house together and things progressed from there. And it wasn't just that day. They were dating. My brother had impregnated my wife and was also dating her. I broke into a sob. I was heartbroken. I wanted nothing more but for all of that to be a nightmare. I wanted to wake up, but I couldn't because it was all real. I cried until my eyes and throat began to hurt. I cried until my eyes refused to form tears anymore. I'd never felt so hurt. I sent my wife out. I felt disgusted just staring at her. Once she left, I rushed over to my parents and broke down again in front of them. When they heard about what happened, they were shocked. They hadn't seen Bob since he left home and were devastated to hear what he did when I was only trying to help him. It hurt so badly because Bob and my wife weren't strangers to each other. I was even more sad to think that my wife could probably be with Bob as we spoke. After crying over it for days, I decided to divorce her. Bob showed up with her to my parents' house, and they both told us they weren't going to stop dating. In anger, my parents cussed at my wife and disowned Bob. They both didn't seem to care and left us. My wife signed the divorce papers without even thinking twice, and I was left alone with nothing but my parents and my shattered heart. I didn't hear from them until about 6 years later, after my parents had died. Both my parents had left behind a good inheritance for me, which promised wealth to my generations. I'd also found a new lady I was talking to. She comforted me in every way possible and guided me whenever I needed guidance. One day, we were both going out when I suddenly saw Bob and my ex-wife standing outside my gate. I stopped my car and stepped out. They immediately rushed to me and went on their knees.
Help us, Joe. Please, forgive us and help.
Apparently, both Bob and my ex-wife had been diagnosed with cancer. Bob lost his job a month ago, while my ex-wife had stopped hers 6 months before, after the doctor warned her against doing anything stressful. They were both living from hand to mouth and couldn't afford their surgery. They were begging for my help. I burst into laughter. After what you both did to me, I'm very surprised to see you in this condition.
Joe, please. We're going to die if you don't help us, please. Our son was born paralyzed. No one is going to help him if we don't. Please, Joe.
Karma had truly dealt with them. I smiled happily. I have no help to render to you both. Not now, not ever. You both didn't care about my feelings when you hurt me, so I don't care about your paralyzed child when you die. I'll make sure to attend your funerals, though, dressed in red. Oh, that's if anyone would be kind enough to give you both proper burials. I walked back to my car, ignoring their cries and pleas. They deserved it, and more. Not in a million years would I help them. Never. 6 months later, I heard rumors that Joe had died and was buried, while his wife was in critical condition at the hospital. As for their paralyzed child, he was given up for adoption since their illness had become so serious. As for me, well, I later got married to Jennifer, and she is pregnant. I'm so happy. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. After that, my life continued spiraling. We were soon done with college, and my dad got me a car as a gift. Of course, Johnson received nothing, but he still didn't mind. Johnson immediately began applying for jobs. When he finally got one, my parents stopped feeding him.
Just 1 month, please. I haven't received my first salary. I can't survive without food, please.
Do I look like I care about your existence? I have my son. You're just an unwanted duplicate. If you can't feed yourself at this age, then shame on you.
Shame on me?
But you still feed Jonathan and you never complain. All I ask for is a month and I'll never bother you guys again. How dare you compare yourself with Jonathan? Just because you stole his face doesn't mean you're him, got it? He's the only one I consider my son, and I refuse to shoulder your responsibility. You're grown. Take care of yourself. It's strange how life can change so fast, so drastically, and yet, when you look back, every step seems like inevitable. My name is Jonathan, and I had a twin brother. Well, had, not because he died, but because he's no more in my life. I chased him out. Growing up, I was the star, the golden child, the genius, the apple of my parents' eyes. I saw how they adored me, looked at me with pride and admiration every time I brought home a perfect score or another certificate. To them, I was brilliant, a future doctor or engineer, someone with the promise of greatness. But my twin, Johnson, was just there, fading into the background.
Jonathan, you're going to do big things one day, aren't you? You're already making us so proud. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and us, your parents.
She'd say this right in front of Johnson, as if he wasn't even there. It was as if he were a shadow, something that was there, but didn't matter enough to be noticed. And Johnson, he'd just sit there, pretending he didn't hear, but his eyes always showed he was sad. I sometimes caught the way he clenched his fists, but he never said anything. He'd just swallow whatever pain or hurt he was feeling. It only got worse as we grew older. My dad was no different. To him, Johnson was just a disappointment, a reminder of everything average and unremarkable. You're so clumsy, awkward, and dull. Why can't you be more like Jonathan? That question soon became a chant in our house. And it wasn't like Johnson didn't try. He'd study late into the night, his textbooks spread out on his desk, his eyes red and tired. But no matter how hard he worked, he could never match my scores, never reach the bar that had been set for me. And eventually, I think he stopped trying altogether. For me, life was easy. I got whatever I wanted, new clothes, the best school supplies, the latest gadgets. And I knew that, as long as I kept my grades high, I could get away with anything. The first time I was reported for skipping school, my dad blamed the school for not making classes interesting for me. He's a brilliant child. If your school wasn't bad, he'd never skip. If my child doesn't return home today from wherever your incompetence made him run off to, I'll report this school. When I came home late, reeking of cigarettes and sweat, they just brushed it off.
Boys will be boys.
They laughed and then patted me on the shoulder as if my behavior were just a phase. I took advantage of that freedom. I started running with a rough crowd, kids who knew how to bend the rules, and soon I was smoking, drinking, doing things my parents would have grounded anyone else for. But for me, they looked the other way, always assuming the best. After all, I was a genius. What harm could I do? But as I sank deeper into that world, my grades started slipping, but my reputation as the genius stayed intact. I began blackmailing teachers to scare them into compliance, making sure they kept my scores at the top. They were afraid of me, afraid of what I'd do if they crossed me. And my parents? They didn't suspect a thing. They kept showering me with praise, convinced I was still their perfect son. I was behind the gym at home one day, puffing on a cigarette, when I saw Johnson watching me. He had a horrified look in his eyes, and for a second, I thought he'd run and tell our parents. But instead, he just walked over to me and tried to talk to me, to reason with me.
Jonathan, you don't have to do this. It's dangerous and could damage your life. There's so much more you could be.
I looked at him, that kid who was supposed to be my twin but felt like a stranger, and I felt a surge of anger. Who was he to lecture me, to tell me what I could and couldn't do? So I snapped. I beat him up, right there, until he was lying on the ground, bruised and bleeding. I told him to keep his mouth shut, or I'd make him regret it. When we got into the house, my parents didn't ask what happened, didn't even care enough to wonder why he looked so beat up. Their only concern was that I was safe, that their prized son had come home unharmed.
Jonathan, I'm so glad you're home. Let's order pizza to celebrate your last test score.
Later that night, I thought about it. I'd hurt my own brother, my own flesh and blood, and no one cared. In a way, it was thrilling, proof that I held all the power in our family. After that, My life continued spiraling. We were soon done with college, and my dad got me a car as a gift. Of course, Johnson received nothing, but he still didn't mind. Johnson immediately began applying for jobs. When he finally got one, my parents stopped feeding him. Just 1 month, please. I haven't received my first salary. I can't survive without food, please.
Do I look like I care about your existence? I have my son. You're just an unwanted duplicate. If you can't feed yourself at this age, then shame on you.
Shame on me? But you still feed Jonathan and you never complain. All I ask for is a month and I'll never bother you guys again. How dare you compare yourself with Jonathan? Just because you stole his face doesn't mean you're him, got it? He's the only one I consider my son, and I refuse to shoulder your responsibility. You're grown. Take care of yourself. I can't tell how he did it, but Johnson managed to survive the whole of the first month without my parents feeding him. Life after college was too boring. I didn't have a job, couldn't even get a stable girlfriend, so I moved on to heavier drugs, stronger drinks, and anything that my friends brought to drown my thoughts. Johnson stayed out of my way. He was just there, existing in the same house, but barely part of my world. He was hardly ever at home because his work required him to work late. I doubt my parents ever noticed that. They were too busy working hard to take care of my needs to notice someone they thought of as a nobody. But still, something about him bothered me. His silence, his calm acceptance of the unfairness, the way he never fought back. I hated him for it. I wanted him to react, to give me a reason to hate him more. So I started making his life miserable, little by little. I'd steal money from my parents and blame it on him, mess with his things, humiliate him every chance I got. I was relentless, testing the limits of his patience, waiting for him to snap. But he never did. He'd just take it, and that only made me angrier. Then one day, he was gone. He left a note, simple and to the point. He thanked our parents for bringing him into the world, but he said he couldn't stay in a place where he wasn't wanted. He was leaving, for good. When I showed the note to my parents, they barely reacted.
Good riddance. He was useless here anyways. I barely even remember his existence sometimes.
I also thought it was good that he left, but I soon realized that not seeing him regularly anymore was making me feel empty. So, I threw myself deeper into partying, drinking, smoking, anything that numbed the strange ache inside me. Then, I discovered gambling. It was thrilling at first, the high of the stakes, the rush of winning. But soon, it turned dark. I started losing, and as my debts piled, I switched gears. I gambled away my car, my phone, anything of value. Eventually, I even stole my parents' house documents, and I lost that too, in a single, disastrous bet. When my parents found out, they were devastated. My dad managed to get us a small apartment, but he was broken. For the first time, he looked at me with something other than pride. He begged me to stop, to change. He'd lost everything, and I was all he had left. Jonathan, please. You're all we have left. Please change. I promised I would, but promises were easy to break. I kept gambling, stealing, doing whatever I could to keep feeding the addiction that had taken over my life. One night, I gambled with the wrong people. When I couldn't pay them, they came after my parents. My parents paid the price for my mistakes. They died because of me. After that, everything went black. I took harder drugs, stopped eating, stopped caring. I roamed the streets until the government picked me up and placed me here, in this rehab center. One day, I was sitting in the common room when I saw Johnson, my twin, on the television screen. He was being interviewed as a writer and actor. He was famous, successful, everything I'd once thought I would be. The interviewer asked him about his family, and his response broke something inside me. I don't have a family, I'm on my own. And in that moment, everything hit me. All those years I'd spent tormenting him, trying to destroy him, it had all been for nothing. While I'd torn myself apart, trying to bring him down, he'd risen, using the pain I'd caused as fuel for his success. I sat there in tears. I destroyed myself, thinking I was destroying him. And now here I was, alone, a broken man with nothing left, watching my twin brother on the television, a man of success and dignity. I decided to write him a letter to ask for his forgiveness. I talked to the authorities at the rehab center, and they allowed me and even helped me post the letter to him. I expected a heartfelt response, him telling me he'd forgiven me and asking if we wanted our family back. I expected that. However, his reaction was far from that. It was short and shattered my heart. All he said as a response to my letter was, "Sorry, I don't know you." I cried that night like I'd never cried before. I'd lost him forever, no doubt. And I dared not even blame him. He deserved to be happy, and I deserved to pay for everything I did to him. He was my twin, and I should have been nicer to him. I should have stood by him when my parents were torturing him with their favoritism, but I never did. I was a bad brother, and he had every right to cut me off just like I did. I didn't try contacting him again. The next year, when I left the rehab center, I had to live in a very small apartment provided by the government for people like me. Do I regret everything I did? Absolutely. In fact, I would change it all if I had the power to turn back the clock. But that's impossible. Money was tight, and instead of getting a job, I turned to selling drugs. One early morning, I heard a loud bang as the police knocked down my door. They came in with dogs, searched my apartment, found the drugs, and I was locked up. Now, I have to live the rest of my life in prison, burdened with guilt over my parents' death and for separating my brother from our family. Yes, my parents played a huge part in what happened, but he didn't deserve any of it, and they didn't deserve to die. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. I stared at them in disbelief. It was like they didn't even care. They were sitting there, laughing, like this was all some kind of joke. Sometimes it takes a little bit for my body to react, but I suddenly felt my throat tightening. You guys know I could die, right? Dude, we're not trying to kill you. Stop being such a baby. My throat was closing up, and I rushed over to my backpack and pulled out my EpiPen and used it. I instantly felt relief and could breathe again. But I still needed to go to the hospital as the EpiPen would only give me a short window of relief. I need to go to the hospital before the drugs wear off. Can one of you drive me? Why? No way, you can drive yourself.
Yeah, and on your way back, be sure to grab some more beer. And don't buy the cheap stuff, Kenny.
Something snapped in me then. All the years of putting up with their crap, all the insults, the jokes, the way they'd taken advantage of me, it all came crashing down in that moment. They didn't care about me. They never had. They just liked having someone around to kick when they were bored. It's funny how long you can put up with people treating you like crap before you realize you've had enough. I guess I just never saw myself as the kind of guy who would stand up for himself. My friends, if you could even call them that, knew that too, and they used it against me every chance they got. For the longest time, I let it slide. I let them get away with everything, telling myself it wasn't a big deal, that it was just how friends act. Hi, my name is Kenny, and this story is about how I finally grew a backbone and stood up for myself. Looking back now, I can see how toxic the whole thing was, how stupid I was to let it get as bad. And when I say bad, I mean life-threatening. They nearly killed me. It started years ago when I first met Ryan. He was funny, charismatic, the life of every party. He had this way of making you feel like you were special just by being around him. And I guess that's why I got sucked in. When he introduced me to his friend group, Ethan and Zoe, it felt like I'd found a place where I belonged. I was never the most confident guy, and being part of their group made me feel important, like I had value just by association. But there was a price. It began with small things. If we were all hanging out at Ryan's place, I'd always be the one who had to make the beer run. Ethan would throw me his keys with a smirk. Come on, Kenny, you don't mind, right? We'll pay for it next time. Oh, yeah, it's cool. I didn't mind, or at least that's what I told myself. I'd laugh it off, drive to the liquor store, and spend my own money because I didn't want to be the guy who complained. I mean, what was a few dollars between friends? Although I should have clued in since I was the only one that ever paid for beer when I was with them. Then there were the jokes. Every time we were out, Ryan would find some way to make me the punchline. Whoa there, Kenny. You better start hitting the gym, man. You look like a stiff breeze will knock you over. No wonder no women are interested in you. You look weaker than a kitten. It would bother me, of course, but they acted like it was just friendly ribbing. But after a while, I started to notice how often I was the target. And it wasn't just teasing, it was constant. They'd make fun of the way I dressed, the way I talked, even the fact that I didn't have a girlfriend. Zoe, who I'd had a crush on for years, would laugh and join in.
Kenny, you're too nice. Girls don't like nice guys. You need to man up and stop being such a pathetic pushover. I'm smaller than you, and even I could beat you up.
She's right, Kenny. And if Zoe doesn't think you're attractive, then no one ever will. I mean, Zoe pretty much likes all men.
Shut up, Ethan. That's not completely true. I just like all men that aren't losers.
But the worst part was, no matter how much it hurt, I didn't say anything. I thought if I just played along, eventually they'd respect me. Eventually, I'd be more than just the butt of their jokes. I thought I could prove myself somehow. And then I had the bright idea to start being assertive and to start standing up for myself in small ways. But that only made things worse. If I said no to something, like the time I refused to pay for everyone's food at the bar, Ryan would give me this look, like I'd personally offended him. Seriously, Kenny? You're gonna be that guy? After all the things we've done for you? Sorry, guys, but money is tight for me. And it really feels like I'm the only one that ever pays for stuff when we hang out.
Don't be such a cheapskate, Kenny. God, you are such a whiny shit, haha.
Every time I tried to assert myself, they'd find a way to make me feel guilty about it. Like I was betraying them by not going along with whatever they wanted. It was like being trapped in a constant loop. I hated how they treated me, but I was too scared of being alone to walk away. And deep down, I think they knew that. They knew they could push me around and I'd still show up the next day, ready to take more of their crap. But all of that changed the night they almost killed me. I've had a peanut allergy my entire life. It's severe, like hospital-level severe. I've been careful about it for as long as I can remember, always checking labels, making sure the people around me knew. Ryan, Ethan, and Zoe all knew about my allergy. I told them a million times, and I'd even had to use my EpiPen once when we were at a party, and I accidentally ate something that had been cross-contaminated with peanuts. They saw how serious it was. So, when we were at Ryan's house for a poker night, I didn't think much of it when Zoe handed me a cookie. I was about to take a bite when I smelled it. Peanuts. I pulled my hand back like I'd touched a hot stove, my heart already racing. Whoa, dude! This has peanuts in it!
Oh my God, Kenny, relax. It's just a little bit. You'll be fine.
Yeah, don't be so dramatic. You've got your EpiPen, right? Besides, the food we had earlier had peanuts in it as well, and you're fine. Don't be so dramatic. I stared at them in disbelief. It was like they didn't even care. They were sitting there, laughing, like this was all some kind of joke. Sometimes it takes a little bit for my body to react, but I suddenly felt my throat tightening. You guys know I could die, right? Dude, we're not trying to kill you. Stop being such a baby. My throat was closing up, and I rushed over to my backpack and pulled out my EpiPen and used it. I instantly felt relief and could breathe again. But I still needed to go to the hospital as the EpiPen would only give me a short window of relief. I need to go to the hospital before the drugs wear off. Can one of you drive me? Why? No way, you can drive yourself.
Yeah, and on your way back, be sure to grab some more beer. And don't buy the cheap stuff, Kenny.
Something snapped in me then. All the years of putting up with their crap, all the insults, the jokes, the way they'd taken advantage of me, it all came crashing down in that moment. They didn't care about me. They never had. They just liked having someone around to kick when they were bored. I raced out of there and to my car and drove as quickly as I could. Behind me, I could hear them laughing at me and calling me names like weakling and loser. Thankfully, I got to the hospital and they were able to stabilize me, but it was close. That night, I lay in bed, my mind racing. I realized how much of myself I'd sacrificed just to be part of their group. They'd chipped away at my self-worth for years, and I'd let them. But not anymore. I wasn't going to be their punching bag, not ever again. At the same time, though, I wanted to make them pay for all the pain they had inflicted on me over the years. Over the next few weeks, I started plotting my revenge. It wasn't enough to just walk away. I needed to make sure they regretted everything they'd ever done to me. I knew how they operated, knew all their secrets, and I was going to use that against them. First, I started with Ryan. He prided himself on being the cool guy, the guy everyone looked up to. But what most people didn't know was that he was terrified of being embarrassed. He had this reputation to maintain, and he couldn't handle anything that might tarnish it. So, I did some digging, and I found something that would ruin him. Ryan had been cheating on his girlfriend for months, something he bragged about when we were hanging out, thinking it made him look like some kind of player. His girlfriend, Emily, was sweet, way too good for him, and I had always felt bad that she didn't know the truth. So, I told her. I sent her screenshots of texts Ryan had sent me, bragging about his side chick. Emily dumped him that night in the most public way possible, at his birthday party, in front of all his friends. Ryan was humiliated, and it spread through our social circle like wildfire. He lost a lot of respect that night. Next, I turned my attention to Ethan. He worked at his dad's company, a cushy job he only got because of nepotism. Ethan liked to slack off, always showing up late and leaving early. He thought he could get away with anything because his dad was the boss. I knew one of his coworkers, a guy named Derek, who hated Ethan for always making him pick up the slack. I fed Derek some insider information, times Ethan had skipped out on important meetings, things he'd said about the company behind his dad's back. Derek used that info to report Ethan to his dad, and within a week, Ethan was demoted. He didn't lose his job, but he lost a lot of face. However, that wasn't really enough. He also had a gambling problem, something that had gotten worse over the years. I knew the guys he owed money to, and I anonymously tipped them off about where Ethan was one night. They showed up at his apartment, demanding the money he owed. Ethan had been avoiding them for months, and they beat him up pretty badly to make the point that they expected him to pay them what he owed. He was forced to sell his most prized possession, which was his car, to pay them off. As for Zoe, well, I knew she had her own secrets. She'd been trash-talking some of her closest friends behind their backs for months, and I had the receipts, literal text messages. I sent those to the group chat, and one by one, her friends confronted her, calling her out for being a two-faced liar. She lost almost everyone, and even got into a few fistfights with some of the women that she had really insulted. However, the real kicker was that Emily, Ryan's ex-girlfriend, found out that Zoe was Ryan's side chick. None of us in the friend group knew about it, but Emily had done some digging and had discovered it, and Emily not only keyed Zoe's car, but she also attacked her with a baseball bat and broke both of her legs as well. When all was said and done, none of them wanted anything to do with me, or each other. I don't think that any of them really knew that I was behind the sudden misfortune that befell all of them, but I didn't care. It was enough that I made them suffer for all the torment they had thrown my way over the years. They never spoke to me again, and I was more than fine with that. For the first time in years, I felt strong, like I'd taken control of my life. I'd spent so long letting them walk all over me, but now I felt sure of myself and confident. After that, I joined a baseball league. I wasn't really good at it, but I found some real friends there. People who valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them, and they showed me what I had been missing. I think the best was whenever I would be hard on myself for not playing well. They would encourage me and cheer me on. One of the guys on my team even asked if he could introduce me to his sister. He told me that he thought I was a great guy and that he wanted his sister to meet someone awesome. I have no idea if we'll hit it off, but the fact that he thinks I'm good enough for his sister makes me feel special. It feels pretty good, and makes me regret all the years I'd wasted being afraid, being passive. Never again. Uncle Jack has moved into a bigger house which my parents paid for because they wanted me to be comfortable. However, instead of giving me a nice room there, I got to stay in the storage room. When we moved into the house, I found myself in a very spacious room upstairs. I took a liking to it again and wanted to be there. So, I went to meet Uncle Jack, but his reply was a block to my excitement.
Quite bold of you to think that you'll have any decent room here. Boy, you're going to the room beside the kitchen, the storage room.
Uncle Jack, that room is so small it can barely fit 3 people. It doesn't even have an AC. How do I survive there?
You will, trust me. I'll get you a small fan and even help you paint the room. You should be appreciative of that. This is why Steven is better than you. He appreciates everything I give him.
My parents left me in the care of my uncle when I was only 3 years old. My Uncle Jack was my dad's elder brother. He has a son, Steven, who was born 2 months after me. My parents were only newlyweds when they had me. They hadn't planned to have a child just yet, but I'd come in, and there was no way they could get rid of me. They never even thought about it. However, parenthood wasn't as easy as they thought. My parents were very busy people. While my dad owned 2 fabric companies, my mom ran a cosmetic brand, which was nearly as successful as my dad's popular companies. Due to their busy schedules, they hardly ever had time for me. It made them feel so sad that they got me a nanny to provide the love they couldn't give me. However, the nanny ended up being a bad woman who barely took care of me, so she was fired. 3 more nannies were employed and fired before my parents finally decided to seek help somewhere else. That was when my uncle stepped in.
Why did you take so long to ask me? Junior is also my son. I'll be more than willing to help in taking care of him.
My parents had been so happy to hear my uncle accept to take care of me. They got onto the next available flight and left Italy to America, since that was where Uncle Jack lived. I was left in his care while my parents returned to Italy 2 days later. Honestly, at the time, I didn't think too much about their departure. It wasn't the first time they were leaving me in the care of someone. Uncle Jack had treated me well for the first week, until his fake kindness ran out and his true colors surfaced. Whenever my parents sent gifts and money, they made sure to include something for Stephen. But, because Uncle Jack was so greedy, he would take my things and keep them for Stephen. Only a quarter of the things for Stephen would come to me. Sometimes my uncle would deliberately starve me for a day or 2, even though there was food at home, and I did most of the house chores at a young age. By the time I clocked 10, Uncle Jack has moved into a bigger house which my parents paid for because they wanted me to be comfortable. However, instead of giving me a nice room there, I got to stay in the storage room. When we moved into the house, I found myself in a very spacious room upstairs. I took a liking to it again and wanted to be there. So, I went to meet Uncle Jack, but his reply was a block to my excitement.
Quite bold of you to think that you'll have any decent room here. Boy, you're going to the room beside the kitchen, the storage room.
Uncle Jack, that room is so small it can barely fit 3 people. It doesn't even have an AC. How do I survive there?
You will, trust me. I'll get you a small fan and even help you paint the room. You should be appreciative of that. This is why Stephen is better than you. He appreciates everything I give him.
I wanted to say that Stephen only appreciated it if he got anything without needing to shout. When it was Stephen's turn to choose a room, he picked the exact one I picked earlier, and Uncle Jack smiled at him.
You're so respectful, my boy. I'm glad you're learning so many good things instead of complaining and talking back to your elders.
On my 15th birthday, 12 years after my parents left me in the care of my uncle, they visited America again. They'd finally found time to visit me. I was so happy. My parents didn't abandon me. They called me every week, sent enough money for my upkeep, even sent pictures of them, and requested for mine too, which my uncle always sent. He never let me lack food, because he couldn't afford making me look unhealthy. He also bought me new clothes, specifically for video calls with my parents. Seeing all of that, my parents never suspected him. The day my parents were supposed to visit, my uncle moved my things into one of the nicest rooms in the house which I had to stay. I was shocked. When they came, I was filled with excitement. My uncle drove Stephen and I to the airport to pick them. When they hugged me for the first time in 12 years, my parents burst into tears. I couldn't help but cry too. I tried to tell my parents what was going on, but they didn't believe me because of how they saw my uncle treating me, as well as the room and laptop I had been given the day before. Well, they stayed with me for a whole week, and that was the best week of my life. My dad told me he already established another company, and my mom now ran a whole fashion house. I got to know that they'd also written their wills, and I owned everything. The mistake they made, however, was saying all of that in front of Uncle Jack. After they left, he spoke to me.
Don't think I'll ever let you alone have all of that property. Don't even imagine it, got it?
Of course, I told him I understood. My life without my parents resumed. After my 14th birthday, I began getting bullied at school. I would tell my uncle, but how could I possibly tell him Stephen was also part of my bullies? I was getting drained emotionally with no one to speak to. I had no friends because Stephen had spread filthy rumors about me to everyone.
He's nothing but a pauper. My dad sponsors him, and that's the only reason he's here. No one should go close to him.
Well, my parents were the ones sponsoring both of us, and he only attended that school because of me, and not the way he'd twisted it to be. But who could I tell? No one would believe me. Steven used all the great gadgets and outfits my parents bought me, while I had to wear and use hand-downs. The time my classmates completely blacklisted me was when Steven had made me wear his shoes, only to lie to them that I'd stolen them. Wear the shoes, okay? Just look good today, and make sure you avoid me, so no one thinks in the direction that the shoes are mine. When he said that to me that morning, I was so happy and thought Steven was finally starting to like me. But when he came to me in class with his friends, I was embarrassed badly. You've been hiding from me all day because you stole my shoes? How pathetic of you, Junior. Not only had they taken the shoes from me and made me walk around with just socks, they'd also beaten me up badly after school. Of course, my uncle had seen my wounds, but he cared less to ask. When I clocked 16, I was already fed up and wanted nothing more than to be with my parents. I was tired of living with my uncle and his son. Uncle Jack had even made me get a job at a restaurant where I had to deal with my wicked boss. He abused me even more than Uncle Jack and Steven did. He would hit me at the slightest mistake, insult me in front of customers, and make me work so hard for the meager salary he paid. One day, while I was doing my shift after school, Steven had visited the restaurant with his friends with the sole aim of mocking me. I approached their table to ask what they wanted, and they kept making me go back and forth, ordering things one at a time instead of making a straight order. They kept laughing loudly at their table. My boss forced me to go warn them twice, but I received 2 slaps the both times I went to warn them. After they'd finished eating, they refused to pay. I was caught unaware when they ran out of the restaurant, laughing mockingly as they watched me try to chase them. I wailed and begged them to pay, but they managed to escape. When I returned to the restaurant, I expected my boss to fire me, but he smiled at me instead. A purely wicked smile. Don't expect a salary by the end of this month. Their bills will be cleared with your salary. My heart was shattered. After work that day, I didn't go home straight. I sat by the roadside and cried my eyes out until a kind woman approached me, and she changed my life for good. She owned a restaurant too, and volunteered to let me spend time after school there with her after I told her my story. Life began getting better for me. I quit my job at the first restaurant after the kind woman, whose name was Vera, gave me the money to pay for the good Steven and his friends had eaten. She didn't let me work. Instead, she simply taught me how to cook since I'd requested. She fed me well and even got me a phone. Of course, I hid it from my uncle and Steven. 3 months later, she encouraged me to call my parents and let them know about what was going on. I was able to get their number from Uncle Jack's phone, and when they knew about everything, they couldn't stop apologizing. The first thing they did was to stop sending any money to Uncle Jack. Instead, the woman received the money and took good care of me with it. I didn't let Uncle Jack know, and he was frustrated at my parents' sudden change of behavior. By the end of the year, my parents informed him that they would be coming to take me with them. My uncle became frustrated. He knew he wouldn't get anything from them anymore if I wasn't with him. He tried to stop them. You don't have to. I'm fine taking care of him. It's just been hard since you stopped sending money, but we're coping well. My parents didn't listen to him. Their minds were made up. In his desperation to do something to stop me from going with them, he tried to drown me. He took me with him to a nearby river. I had no idea where he was taking me to at first, but I was suspicious. So, I messaged Vera and also turned on my location. I asked her to contact the cops too, because my uncle wasn't trustworthy. Luckily, she sprung into action immediately. My uncle arrived at the river and pulled me with him. You thought I'd let you go so easily? Let you be the owner of those companies when your parents die? Never. My son and I deserve a good life forever. After killing you here, I'm going to kill your parents too. I begged him not to do it, but he didn't listen. Just when I saw the cops approaching, alongside Vera, my uncle pushed me, and I fell into the river. I heard a gunshot and saw my uncle fall into the river too. Vera was quick to jump in and pull me out before I could drown. Uncle Jack had tried to run away after he saw the cops, but he got shot in the chest before he could, and that led to his death. My parents returned to America the next day and couldn't stop apologizing to me.
We've been bad parents. We'll do better now. Forgive us, son. We're so sorry we put our jobs before you.
Of course, I forgave them. They weren't bad parents. The only thing they didn't provide was their presence. But I'd even felt that through their video calls. I was happy to reunite with my parents. We returned to Italy after my uncle was buried. Stephen moved in with my grandparents. My parents refused to take care of him, telling the family they were only going to focus on me. Stephen had pulled me to a corner and apologized, begging me to convince my parents to take him with me, but I refused. You don't deserve any good thing from me. You could get a job. Oh, and maybe apply for a scholarship at school because no one will pay your fees anymore. Maybe try to avoid seeing your friends at school because you'll be mocked badly. Remind them to not try apologizing to me. That's if we ever cross paths again. My parents gave Vera enough money to expand her business before we left. I didn't fail to keep in touch with her. I started a new life in Italy, often referred to as my parents' son. Life has been better since then. A few months later, we heard that Stephen had tried, along with some friends, to bully another kid. He got beaten badly and ended up with a split lip. He was also suspended from school for a while. When news of what his dad had done spread around the school, everyone started hating him because his dad was so cruel. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below saying, "I subscribed," and we'll do our best to reply to your comment. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront her. She tried to deny it at first, but when I yelled at her, she was forced to start talking. She burst into tears and went on her knees.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Joe. Forgive me, please. It wasn't intentional.
Of course, I was touched by her tears. I couldn't bear to see her crying, but I also needed to know who she cheated on me with and why she did it. When I asked her, she only cried more, her body trembling uncontrollably. Tell me, who's it?
It's your brother.
It felt like my world stopped for a moment. I couldn't believe my ears. How could Bob be responsible for my wife's pregnancy? I grew up with a selfish brother, a brother who never praised me, but never failed to criticize every little mistake I make, and even take advantage of them. My name is Joe, and I have an elder brother, Bob. Bob was born just 2 years before me, but he boasted with and took advantage of the age gap, like it was his life goal to do so. We went to the same school, and I hated every bit of it. I didn't like the fact that I had to swallow Bob's stupid behaviors at school. He would often come to me with his friends, strangling me and pushing me to the floor roughly in pretense of being playful with me. Bob was just too rough. I couldn't say if he was intentionally extra with me, but I never enjoyed it. Once, I was eating in the school's cafeteria, and he suddenly walked up to me and kicked the table, making my glass of milk fall and pour on the table and my thighs. I was so angry, but I couldn't fight him. We were at school, and it would be embarrassing to fight with my elder brother there. So, I kept mute and simply left the cafeteria, ignoring his loud, mocking laughter. When we got home and I confronted him, he blew up.
Are you crazy? You're so ungrateful. I'm 2 years older than you, yet I play around with you like we're age mates and all you do is complain. You're so immature.
I was so annoyed because he blew everything out of proportion. I simply wanted him to reduce how rough he was with me, but he was taking it differently. When I tried to explain, he slapped me. I was shocked.
The next time you're disrespectful to me, it will be more than a slap. You're so foolish and ungrateful.
When my parents returned, I reported the case to them. But when Bob was summoned, B began crying.
I just wanted to be nice to him. No one talks to him at school. I and my friends play with him so he's not left out. How's that bad? Even though we're older than him, we don't mind playing around with him. How does that make us bad?
I couldn't believe my ears. I had friends at school. In fact, most of my friends stopped being close to me out of our class because they were afraid of getting beaten up by my brother and his friends. Now, how could I explain that my brother was lying when they were already hugging and petting him?
Joe, apologize to your brother, love. Don't be so mad at him. He's just looking out for you, son.
I used to be rough like that with my brothers too. It's just how boys joke around. Don't be mad at your brother, okay?
Did I have any choice? No. I couldn't be seen as a weakling before my parents. I forced myself to take his silly jokes until I finally graduated high school. I'd grown up to be very handsome and manly, but Bob was 2 times better. He got a girlfriend the first year he resumed college. At the time, I was still at home. Whenever my parents were out to work, Bob would bring in different girls to our house. I would try to advise him against doing that, but he never listened.
How dare you tell me what to do? I'm 2 years older than you. You have no right to dictate how I live my life to me.
I learned to shut up quickly. One day, a girl came visiting. All three of us were in the living room, watching TV. I didn't say a word or do anything except watching the TV. Shockingly, we heard the sound of my mom's car, and we all froze. My parents had gone out in my mom's car, and they'd returned. As if planned, Bob quickly got off the couch with the girl, and they rushed to me. He pushed her on me and stood in front of us, speaking to me like I committed an offense. And when my parents came in to meet the sight, I saw how their faces fell. They seemed to misunderstand what was happening, just as Bob wanted.
You're bringing girls home now, Joe? I'm so disappointed in you.
At that moment, seeing my mom's face crushed me. She was even more disappointed.
I feel so embarrassed.
Mom, Bob's lying. I didn't bring her home. I don't even know her. I swear to you, Mom. Believe me, please.
Are you calling me a liar? You both were sleeping on the couch and I told you up to get dressed properly. What have I done wrong this time?
After my mom left, I felt so bad. I quickly stood up and ran to my room where I didn't hesitate to cry as much as possible. Later on, I explained to my parents, and they realized that Bob had lied. However, I begged them not to talk about it to him, and they didn't. In his third year in college, Bob began exhibiting even worse behaviors. He stopped returning home daily and only came on Saturdays. When my parents asked him, he lied that he was living with his friends. It was good for me because I didn't have to face his silly behaviors anymore. Soon, he added more. He would smoke at home whenever my parents were out and call me a weakling whenever I refused to join him. Once, our parents caught him smoking and drinking in the living room. I'd expected them to lash at him or something, but they didn't. They only asked him to be careful and eat healthy food. I was quite surprised, but I let it slide. He was old enough. Years later, we're finally grown men, and I'm married. My brother had gotten nearly completely out of control. He dropped out of college in his last year, left home to wherever. He suddenly came to my house one day. According to him, he was ready to turn a new leaf. I was impressed by how different he sounded, so I offered to help him. One time, about 2 weeks after, I had a fight with Bob. He'd come to visit me, yet he was trying to be all bossy, and that was annoying me. I tried to calmly ask him to stop, but he got mad.
What? Are you telling me how to behave? I'm 2 years older than you, so I can do whatever I want.
There he went with the age gap thing again. I couldn't take it anymore. Until when are you going to keep mentioning this? You're 2 years older than me, yes. Now act like it. We kept going back and forth until Bob left my house with pure anger. When my wife returned home from work, we also got into a small fight. I'd gone to bed that night with a hurt heart. After that one night when my wife didn't pass the night with me due to our fight, things took a strangely different turn. My wife, even after we settled our issue, would return home very late in the night, against her usual time. My brother and I hadn't settled our fight, but he would often come over to my house, have little conversations with me while giving me silly smirks. About 3 months later, my wife suddenly announced her pregnancy. I frowned. How was she pregnant when we hadn't had sex in 3 months? I tried to push it aside, but it kept bothering me. I faked happiness when she gave me the news, but I knew the pregnancy wasn't mine. She cheated on me. I managed to hold it in until her 6th month of being pregnant. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront her. She tried to deny it at first, but when I yelled at her, she was forced to start talking. She burst into tears and went on her knees.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Joe. Forgive me, please. It wasn't intentional.
Of course, I was touched by her tears. I couldn't bear to see her crying, but I also needed to know who she cheated on me with and why she did it. When I asked her, she only cried more, her body trembling uncontrollably. Tell me, who's it?
It's your brother.
It felt like my world stopped for a moment. I couldn't believe my ears. How could Bob be responsible for my wife's pregnancy? It's not possible. You're joking with me.
I'm not, Joe. He's responsible for this.
She further explained that she'd run into Joe. That night we fought. They'd gone to his house together and things progressed from there. And it wasn't just that day. They were dating. My brother had impregnated my wife and was also dating her. I broke into a sob. I was heartbroken. I wanted nothing more but for all of that to be a nightmare. I wanted to wake up, but I couldn't because it was all real. I cried until my eyes and throat began to hurt. I cried until my eyes refused to form tears anymore. I'd never felt so hurt. I sent my wife out. I felt disgusted just staring at her. Once she left, I rushed over to my parents and broke down again in front of them. When they heard about what happened, they were shocked. They hadn't seen Bob since he left home and were devastated to hear what he did when I was only trying to help him. It hurt so badly because Bob and my wife weren't strangers to each other. I was even more sad to think that my wife could probably be with Bob as we spoke. After crying over it for days, I decided to divorce her. Bob showed up with her to my parents' house, and they both told us they weren't going to stop dating. In anger, my parents cussed at my wife and disowned Bob. They both didn't seem to care and left us. My wife signed the divorce papers without even thinking twice, and I was left alone with nothing but my parents and my shattered heart. I didn't hear from them until about 6 years later, after my parents had died. Both my parents had left behind a good inheritance for me, which promised wealth to my generations. I'd also found a new lady I was talking to. She comforted me in every way possible and guided me whenever I needed guidance. One day, we were both going out when I suddenly saw Bob and my ex-wife standing outside my gate. I stopped my car and stepped out. They immediately rushed to me and went on their knees.
Help us, Joe. Please, forgive us and help.
Apparently, both Bob and my ex-wife had been diagnosed with cancer. Bob lost his job a month ago, while my ex-wife had stopped hers 6 months before, after the doctor warned her against doing anything stressful. They were both living from hand to mouth and couldn't afford their surgery. They were begging for my help. I burst into laughter. After what you both did to me, I'm very surprised to see you in this condition.
Joe, please. We're going to die if you don't help us, please. Our son was born paralyzed. No one is going to help him if we don't. Please, Joe.
Karma had truly dealt with them. I smiled happily. I have no help to render to you both. Not now, not ever. You both didn't care about my feelings when you hurt me, so I don't care about your paralyzed child when you die. I'll make sure to attend your funerals, though, dressed in red. Oh, that's if anyone would be kind enough to give you both proper burials. I walked back to my car, ignoring their cries and pleas. They deserved it, and more. Not in a million years would I help them. Never. 6 months later, I heard rumors that Joe had died and was buried, while his wife was in critical condition at the hospital. As for their paralyzed child, he was given up for adoption since their illness had become so serious. As for me, well, I later got married to Jennifer, and she is pregnant. I'm so happy. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.
And straight to Mr. Gabriel's office. Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. When I asked if he hadn't heard about my dad's sickness, Mr. Gabriel burst into laughter.
Your father has always acted all tough and strong. I guess death has humbled him. I won't be visiting him. Also, I won't be attending his funeral. A weak man like him who couldn't fight cancer can't be associated with me. If you didn't have our grandchild, I'd ask Liam to end things with you.
My heart sank. Both Mr. Gabriel and Liam were monsters. Heartless monsters. I was about to leave when his wife came in.
Oh, Monica, you're here. I heard your dad is going to be dying soon.
Can you all stop being so freaking insensitive?
Well, isn't he dying soon? Anyway, we won't be attending the funeral, so accept our condolences in advance.
You all are so evil and shameless. I angrily left the place. I needed to make them pay. Hi everyone, my name's Monica, a 33-year-old single mother. Over the years, I've had quite a lot of ups and downs, starting with when I lost my mother when I was 10. At the same time, my dad got fired from his workplace, and we had to live on his savings until it ran out. He tried hard to get a job, but all his efforts were in vain. Well, until luck shined on us. He came across one of his old friends in quite an unpleasant way. The man had almost hit my dad with his car, but he was quick enough to stop right in time. When he came out, he saw my dad and was surprised.
What? You look so dirty, Greg. What the hell happened to you? Gosh, I can't believe I nearly hit you. Are you intentionally walking carelessly so you can get hit and pay for it? How can you think so low of me? I wouldn't do such a thing. I was simply deep in thoughts and you were driving too fast. Oh, please, I know your tactics. Tell me what happened to you.
My dad didn't want to share, but Mr. Gabriel forced him until he did. He explained how he lost my mom and his job and was now broke and jobless. Mr. Gabriel said a lot of degrading things to him, but my dad was calm and ignored his words. He went with Mr. Gabriel to his company, and he gave my dad a job in his production department. My dad was so happy. When he reached home and broke the news to us, we were just as happy as him. He ironed all of his corporate outfits, which he hadn't worn since he lost his job. After ironing, he arranged them properly and began to get ready for the next day. Life at Mr. Gabriel's company wasn't enjoyable, but my dad endured it all because he wanted to be able to provide for us. No matter how much the man looked down on him, my dad never complained. Instead, he would apologize and try to fix whatever it was, regardless of whether he was at fault or not. My dad never spent recklessly. He worked so hard but spent his money on our well-being. We never lacked anything. My dad was also wise enough to save a part of his salary monthly. Time flew by and I was soon done with college. I got a nice job, stopped my dad from working, and got us a bigger and more comfortable apartment. Then, I placed my dad on a bi-weekly salary to ensure he never lacked anything. My younger sister was done with college too and had gotten a new job. My younger brother was in his final year in college. While I took care of my father, my sister was kind enough to cater for my brother's needs in school. Our family was happy. My grandparents also lived with us to ensure they didn't get lonely, as well as my dad. It was in that period that I met Liam. We met at a mall and somehow clicked after we helped a pregnant woman in labor to reach the hospital right in time. He seemed like a nice guy, so we began talking. We would speak over calls and texts, then go out to eat whenever we were free. He was a cool person to be around with, so I loved the friendship. Well, as they say, feelings always find its way in. After a year of being friends, we couldn't deny what we felt for each other. Liam confessed first. That night, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Of course, I agreed. A week later, he told me he wanted us to get to know each other on a more personal level, and by that he meant introduction to each other's parents. It was a huge step which made me both excited and nervous. I had to visit his parents first. Well, you can imagine my surprise when I met Mr. Gabriel, who turned out to be Liam's father. And yeah, he recognized me.
Aren't you Greg's daughter? I saw you a few times when you were younger. Greg also showed me a picture of you when you graduated college. Liam, her father, used to work at my company. He was a stinky man, but he was hardworking. I can't believe you're dating his daughter.
Greg used to be so poor back then. I can't believe he now has a successful daughter.
Well, he has 3 successful children. My siblings are also doing well, and it's all thanks to my dad. I was embarrassed, but Liam didn't notice. Mr. Gabriel asked to see my father, but I refused. Liam had to pay him a visit like I did to his parents. Then we could organize a meeting. I didn't like how they were speaking down on my dad like he was nothing. It even pissed me off the most to see Liam sitting and smiling there like he wasn't hearing his parents. I'd planned to confront him later, but it slipped my mind. 2 days after I met Liam's parents, I took him to my family. My dad, unlike Liam's parents, spoke good about them. He also agreed to the meeting. Luckily, they didn't get angry at the meeting. Everything went smoothly. We began planning our wedding after 6 months of dating. My sister helped me with nearly everything. She made things so easy for me. The wedding was a grand one. My father-in-law was popular, so they were people of high caliber in attendance. I was the happiest. My wedding came to an end with 0 problems. Well, the first months after my wedding were good too, as well as the first 2 years after my daughter's birth. My grandparents both passed away, and even though it was disappointing that Liam's parents didn't attend their funeral or even send their condolences, I didn't mind. After my daughter's 2nd birthday, I got a call that my dad had fainted and had to be rushed to the hospital by my brother. I took my daughter and went there to see my dad still unconscious. The doctors had run a test on him, so awaited the result. Well, it came out that my dad had terminal cancer. My world shattered right before my eyes. How? How can that be possible? The days that followed were sad ones. All we could do was sit and watch until my dad's last breath. He remained strong, giving us advice and showering us with lovely words, which only made us cry more. That was my most trying moment, but Liam didn't seem to care. He only visited my dad once and barely even stayed up to 10 minutes. As for his father, he pretended like he didn't know what was happening. I confronted Liam after a week. My dad is dying, and you as my husband can't even pay him his last respects by visiting him regularly. Liam, how can you be so cruel?
Well, he's gonna be dying soon anyway. I felt it was best to let you have his last moments with him alone.
His words stung, but I held in my anger. What about your dad? Isn't he aware?
You know my dad doesn't like your dad. He only tolerates him because he thinks your dad is a strong and hardworking man. I'm glad he'll be dying soon so the silly rivalry between them can stop.
I was devastated. He saw his father's toxic and disrespectful behavior as a rivalry between both men. I knew then that I'd made a mistake marrying Liam. Without another word, I stormed out of the house and straight to Mr. Gabriel's office. Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. When I asked if he hadn't heard about my dad's sickness, Mr. Gabriel burst into laughter.
Your father has always acted all tough and strong. I guess death has humbled him. I won't be visiting him. Also, I won't be attending his funeral. A weak man like him who couldn't fight cancer can't be associated with me. If you didn't have our grandchild, I'd ask Liam to end things with you.
My heart sank. Both Mr. Gabriel and Liam were monsters, heartless monsters. I was about to leave when his wife came in.
Oh, Monica, you're here. I heard your dad is going to be dying soon.
Can you all stop being so freaking insensitive?
Well, isn't he dying soon? Anyway, we won't be attending the funeral, so accept our condolences in advance.
You all are so evil and shameless. I angrily left the place. I needed to make them pay. But I waited until my dad passed away, which was about a week later. With my siblings, the funeral was organized. Liam and his father weren't there. Well, I might have invited the press to make everyone see that neither Liam nor his parents cared to attend. The next day, the news was everywhere. People were wondering if we got divorced. Press companies invited me for interviews, but I declined. On the afternoon of the same day, I posted a recording. I waited about 5 minutes before deleting it. By then, many people had seen and saved it. On the day I confronted Liam's father and mother, I had recorded our conversation. That was the recording I posted. Liam called me immediately as the recording circulated.
How could you do that to us? Are you trying to destroy my father's company?
Of course not. It was a mistake, honey. Believe me. I didn't even know how the press got to the cemetery, and the baby had accidentally posted the recording while playing around on my phone. Of course, that was a lie. Once the call with Liam ended, I got dressed and accepted to be interviewed. I faked tears and acted depressed to get more pity. And yes, it worked. Posts were flying about our family, everyone against Liam and his parents. I got enough pity. When Liam returned home that night, he was so provoked that he lost control and threw a few punches at me. Our daughter was crying while watching him, and he almost slapped her if I wasn't quick enough to grab her. Well, my sister recorded it all and posted the video the next morning. Liam was done. People stormed their company, protesting for Liam to be fired. He was called a domestic abuser, and their family were tagged as heartless bullies. I immediately got to work. I contacted my lawyer and requested a divorce document. While Liam and his family faced the public throughout that week, I moved to my dad's house and never stopped attending interviews. Liam did too, but even the interviewers were against him. His dad's company was suffering too. The hate from the public was too much, so investors were pulling out. The company was suffering a huge loss in just a week. The divorce document was ready a few days after, and I took it to Liam. He refused to sign it, which forced me to take it to the court. I also requested child custody. After showing them the video of Liam almost hitting our daughter, the court agreed to me getting custody of our child and also got us divorced. Liam and his family were devastated. They were forced to make a video and apologize to the public, promising to change their behaviors. Mr. Gabriel and his wife also apologized for the words they said about my late father before he died. Liam swore to never hit a woman again and apologized for nearly hitting our daughter. He was also made to attend anger management therapy sessions by the court. 2 weeks after we got divorced, Liam moved back in with his parents. The topic of my family versus Liam's had been covered by another news station. Their company wasn't recovering yet, but I knew it wouldn't take much longer. My ex-in-law's company crumbled as everyone boycotted them and left negative comments on their website, which made them broke. They couldn't afford the cars and mansion they were used to, and had to move into a small house. As of now, they are still struggling to revive the company. but they forget that the internet never forgets. Often, Liam's and his parents' car tires are slashed by unknown people when they park outside. I was satisfied with the punishment they received for their behavior and the fact that they apologized. As for Liam, after 3 months of therapy sessions, he was allowed to see our daughter 3 times a month, but our nanny was always present. He tried to patch things up with me, but I blocked every attempt. I refused to be friends or have any relationship with such a callous person. I even went as far as posting online with a fake account, claiming Liam was a plumber and posting his number. People have been calling him non-stop for repairs, and he was forced to change his number. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed. And we will try our best to reply to your comment.
What's a black woman doing here? I hope it's not what I'm thinking, Ben.
Ben was looking nervous, and that bothered me. His father's words sounded racist, and seeing Ben nervous like that made me aware of what was happening.
Dad, I need you to be respectful, please. I love Tina, and I want to marry her. We're engaged already. Believe me, she's a good girl. Marry her? Are you in your right senses? Have you even given the cultural differences a thought? How sure are you that she's not here for your money? Don't be an idiot, Ben.
Please, don't scold him, sir. I promise you. I love your son. I love him with all of my heart. We've talked about the culture, and we're ready to adjust.
You know you won't, liar. You're just going to have 1 or 2 kids for him before you divorce and take all of his money. I know how your kind acts to whites. Ben, did she bewitch you with her black magic?
My father-in-law was very vocal about her dislike for me, especially my skin color. My name's Tina, and I'm Kenyan. I met Ben 3 years ago. I was working at a restaurant as one of the head chefs, but my boss was quite the abusive one. He didn't care about your position in the restaurant. He would lash out at the slightest provocation. On some occasions, he would hit us. One day, I'd unintentionally cooked something different from what was on the list, and that got my boss angry. He'd hurled all sorts of insults at me, but I didn't reply. I knew I was wrong, so I kept quiet. However, that had angered my boss. Apparently, he thought I was ignoring him by being quiet. As a result of that, he threw a steel pot at me. It hit me badly, but before I could react, I saw him grab another pot. In fear, I ran out of the kitchen. He followed me. Ben came in right when my boss threw the second pot at me, and he was quick enough to catch it before it hit me. He'd been so angry, even though we were only just strangers then. Out of anger and frustration, I quit immediately. I was fed up with putting up with his silly behaviors. Ben offered to give me a ride, and I didn't decline. He drove to the park and got us ice cream to help me relax. I felt so grateful and thanked him nonstop. He also took me home after we left the park. It seemed as though fate was bringing us together because after that day, we came across each other at a mall. We exchanged numbers then. Ben helped me get a better job after we became friends. I was happy. We were friends for almost a year before confessing our romantic feelings for each other. Then we began dating. After dating for 7 months, Ben proposed marriage to me. I was so happy. The love of my life wanted to be with me forever. I felt so happy that I cried. 2 days after the proposal, he took me to his family. I was surprised at how big their house was. When we were ushered in by his younger brother, I couldn't help but feel nervous. We both sat in the living room and waited for his parents to arrive. When they did, his father's face didn't hide his disgust.
What's a black woman doing here? I hope it's not what I'm thinking, Ben.
Ben was looking nervous, and that bothered me. His father's words sounded racist, and seeing Ben nervous like that made me aware of what was happening.
Dad, I need you to be respectful, please. I love Tina, and I want to marry her. We're engaged already. Believe me, she's a good girl. Marry her? Are you in your right senses? Have you even given the cultural differences a thought? How sure are you that she's not here for your money? Don't be an idiot, Ben.
Please, don't scold him, sir. I promise you. I love your son. I love him with all of my heart. We've talked about the culture, and we're ready to adjust.
You know you won't, liar. You're just going to have 1 or 2 kids for him before you divorce and take all of his money. I know how your kind acts to whites. Ben, did she bewitch you with her black magic?
I felt sad to hear that. He was being so unfair, and I was already getting teary. Ben noticed it and got angry.
Dad, I don't appreciate you speaking to her like that. She's my future wife, and we love each other. Can you respect that?
Let them be, Ken. If Ben chose her, then we should believe in his choice. You know our son. He won't engage someone who isn't worth it.
Mom's right, Dad. She seems so kind and respectful. Let them be and give them your blessings. Never. This lady can't adjust to our culture. She's eventually going to leave Ben. I refuse to accept this.
We all watched as he stormed off and went straight to his room. Tears fell from my eyes. I was so sad. Not getting my soon-to-be father-in-law's approval made me feel so sad. His mother and brother were kind, though. They both comforted me.
Ignore him, okay? He's not always like this. He's just looking out for Ben due to some things he's seen. Don't mind him, darling.
I apologize on his behalf, Tina. He's really not like this. He will surely come around. We accept you and we'll support you both.
Seeing how kind Ben's mother and brother were, I had a little hope. Maybe his dad will truly come around and accept us. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. When we began our wedding plans, I frequented Ben's family's house. His mom had issues with her legs, so she didn't go out often. Hence, I had to bring whatever I bought to their house to show her. Whenever I went to the house, my father-in-law would refuse to show himself. He would remain in his bedroom until I left the house. Once, I tried going into his room to talk to him.
Get out! Get out of my room, gold digger! I have no gold for you, so get out!
I was so scared when he yelled at me. I immediately ran out, bumping into Ben, who consoled me. Well, after spending quite a long time planning, we finally got married. However, my father-in-law nearly ruined the wedding. During the ceremony, someone burst through the door. When we all turned, it was my father-in-law. He walked straight up, grabbed the microphone, and said,
Ben, I told you not to marry this girl. You don't have my blessing. She is black and good for nothing. There's still time, so please let my son go, black woman.
I felt so embarrassed, as well as Ben. From his words, it was clear that he didn't support us. I ignored him like I used to, until I turned and saw Ben standing on the altar, holding a mic.
Dad, it's high time you stopped. Ever since I introduced Tina to you, you've been on her tail. Everything she does is bad for you. She's tried hard to gain your favor, yet you remain adamant. That's enough. Stop being racist to her.
I could hear murmurs from people in the crowd. Some were looking at me, and they seemed to pity me. My eyes itched with tears. I felt so bad to see so many people pitying me. I turned to my father-in-law, but I couldn't read his expression. He seemed both sad and unfazed. I decided to seize the opportunity to mend our relationship. I walked toward him and knelt down. I swear to you, sir, I love Ben. I'm not going to abandon him. Never. I love him a lot, sir.
Let go of me. You're only being like this because there are a lot of people here. I will never accept you. I'm leaving.
I sadly watched him leave the venue. My husband, his mother, and brother didn't go after him. We tried our best to push it aside and finish the wedding. Luckily, my wedding ended well and everyone returned home. I guess my mother-in-law talked enough sense into him. 2 months after my wedding, my father-in-law showed up in front of my house. He was looking like a lost dog. Ben isn't home, if you came for him.
No, I came for you, Tina. I want to apologize for treating you so badly. I know it's late now, but you have my blessings.
I was so happy. I ushered him into the house and made us tea. He told me how his wife and kids had put him through hell. They stopped talking to him and he felt like he was going insane. He had to see a therapist. It so happened that one of his friends married a nice, rich black woman, who turned out to be a much better partner than his ex-wife, who was white. This experience changed his views about black people, and he was truly sorry. I thanked him so much. We talked for a few more minutes before he finally left. I was the happy that day. Ben was also very happy that his father was finally supporting us. Things continued going smoothly until my sister suddenly introduced an American man as her husband. I didn't feel good about it. I dated American men twice before meeting Ben, who's British, and those relationships didn't last. I already saw them as players, and I couldn't allow my sister to get married to them. Besides, I knew a fellow Kenyan who'd been asking to marry my sister. I felt angry that she was leaving a man from our race for a white man. No! You can't marry him. He won't treat you well. How can you pick him over a good black man who's going to love you for who you are?
Excuse you? Tina, you have no right to choose my life partner for me. I don't remember ever telling you that I'm uncomfortable with my fiancé. Aren't you married to a white man? What the hell is your deal with mine?
Ben is different. He's not American, so he can't be like them. You're not marrying that man, and that's final.
You sound so ridiculous. I'm marrying him, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you get me angrier than this, then I'm going to cut you off. I don't care if you're my sister or not.
I felt so bad. My only sibling was threatening to cut me off her life, just for a stupid white man. I couldn't let him win. I needed to ensure they didn't get married. On the day of the wedding, when the priest asked about anyone who was against the wedding, I stood up and went over to the altar. This man here doesn't love my sister. He's simply experimenting with something with my sister. He's going to leave her and get married to a fellow white woman. Call off this wedding. My sister seemed to have had enough because she came over and slapped me hard across my cheeks before she asked a few men to drag me out. I felt so bad because Ben remained there with them. He couldn't even run after me. I channel my sadness into anger. The moment Ben returned home and walked to our bedroom, I rushed to him and slapped him. You're so evil. You watched them embarrass me and kept quiet. I hate you. I slapped, kicked, and punched him until he was on the floor. He nearly passed out before I finally left him. I went over to a hotel to stay for a few days. About 2 weeks later, Ben found me and asked for a divorce.
I don't think we can be together anymore. My dad was like this toward you, and you felt so bad until he apologized. Why are you being racist toward your sister's husband? You either apologize to them or we end this thing between us.
I was consumed by anger. I refused to apologize to them. Never. When Ben began pressuring me, I was forced to hit him again. He didn't, for a second, try to hit me back. Well, eventually we got divorced. Everyone supported him, including my parents and my sisters. They all said I was wrong, but I couldn't find anything wrong in what I did. I tried to move back to my parents' house, but they refused. They said they couldn't allow a controlling racist in their lives. That itself made me angry. A controlling racist? Well, Ben was pretty enough to make them fire me from my workplace. I was left jobless and quite broke. I had to get a small apartment after a while of staying at the hotel. My family and Ben's family are still not speaking to me. Ben left the country, and his mother eyes me grudgingly whenever we cross paths. My friends have all abandoned me after hearing the story. I'm all alone, sad, and angry. Someone even posted my pictures online, tagging me as a racist and an HIV carrier, and now no one is asking me out, not even people of my own race. I now live with 4 cats and feel so lonely. Am I really a controlling racist? Or are they just being unkind and unfair to me?
What? Is that a child or monster? Why does he look so ugly?
I was hurt hearing him say that to my child. My husband was also hurt, but his mother and sister signaled us to be calm.
Down syndrome. But you have no right to say that about my son, Dad. You're being insensitive. But the child is ugly. He looks so hideous. You gave birth to a monster. Why didn't you let him die? He's going to be a liability. A monstrous liability.
I'd had enough of his insensitivity. I stood up and stormed out of the living room with my son. Hi there. My name's Sandra. 3 years ago, my husband and I got married. My husband, Jace, is a good man. I met him when I was working as a receptionist at a hotel. He used to visit there with his business associates. Being the friendly people that we are, it didn't take long before we became friends. On my free days, we would visit restaurants together. We both loved to find and explore new places. I was comfortable and happy with our friendship. A couple of months later, we started going out. We developed feelings for each other after being so close. Jace never failed to make me happy during our dating period. He helped me get a better job with a better pay. Everything was going smoothly. Surprisingly, barely 3 months after we began dating, Jace proposed marriage to me. I couldn't believe it. I cried so much out of happiness. After our engagement, he took me to see his family. According to him, his dad had abandoned them when he was only a child, so he barely knew him. Of course, I didn't mind. When we reached his family's house, I was received lovingly. He had one sibling who I absolutely adore. She and his mother made me feel so loved and accepted. I couldn't be happier with how things were going. We soon got married. Our marriage was a low-key one since we both wanted it that way. I was an orphan, so I didn't have many people in attendance, aside from my friends at work and a few extended families. Nevertheless, I enjoyed my wedding. After the wedding ceremony, Jace and I began our married life in the mansion he bought. Jace had a great job, so money was never a problem for us. I got a call one day, about 4 months after our wedding. It was an unsaved number, so I was skeptical about picking it up. However, I was forced to, when the number continuously kept calling me.
Hello. Am I speaking to Sandra?
Yes. Who are you? I was shocked when the caller revealed himself as Jace's father. Even more, he was crying. He asked to meet me up at a restaurant close to our house and said he had a lot of things to tell me and also needed my help. I didn't know whether to believe the stranger. I would have spoken to Jace about it, but the man had begged me not to. The next day, after leaving my workplace, I headed to the restaurant to meet the man. Once I saw him, I immediately knew he was truly Jace's father. They looked so much alike. I greeted him and sat down. We began talking, and he explained that he was sorry about leaving his family.
I regret my decision, child. I wish I could turn back the hands of time. My wife refuses to see me, and I know the kids hate me too. Please help me.
I didn't know what to do. I couldn't tell if it would be a good idea to help him. However, when the man began crying, I couldn't bring myself to refuse. I agreed to help him. The plan was to find a way to gather my husband and his family at their family house, then bring his father to them. I knew Jace would be mad at me for keeping him in the dark, but the man was my father-in-law. Also, I thought it was good since he'd accepted his mistake and was willing to correct it. 2 weeks later, I was finally able to gather us all at Jace's family house. After dinner, I announced that I'd brought someone with me. That was after Jace's father texted to inform me that he was outside the house. I immediately replied and asked him to come in and show himself to the curious people. Once he entered, the whole place fell into silence. Jace's mother, a few seconds later, yelled at him to get out of her house, but the man quickly went on his knees. I did the same and begged for him.
How dare you go to my wife? After all you did, I can't believe you had the boldness to show yourself to us.
His father continued begging and crying. I explained everything the man told me, and it seemed to calm down. Once everyone was calm, Jace's mother asked her husband to leave, as she had to think. The man didn't argue. He stood up and left. Jace's mother broke in a loud sob as her kids went to console her. I also did the same. Afterward, we had a talk. I was able to convince her to forgive her husband as the man seemed truly sorry. I pleaded with my husband and his sister too. Eventually, they agreed to meet him again. I was so happy to have made their family complete again. The next time he saw them, he apologized over and over again. The family hugged each other happily. They'd decided to start afresh and let the past be buried. I did ask him how he got to know me, and I discovered that he'd been watching the family for long, but was too afraid to approach them. Seeing the love they had for me encouraged him to approach me. 3 months after the reunion, I got pregnant with our first child. Jace was elated. He couldn't stop thanking me and smiling. Family and friends also congratulated us after we shared the news with them. We were all happy. I had to stop my job because my husband didn't want his pregnant wife going through even the slightest stress. I wasn't alone. Whenever Jace was away, his sister would spend time with me. And when his sister wasn't available, his mother was there. We were all happy. Well, that happiness didn't last long. My baby was born with Down syndrome. Strangely, the doctors hadn't noticed at birth and even after birth. When I started to sense his weird behaviors and features around the time he was 4 months old, I took him to the doctor and he was diagnosed. It didn't make me love my son any less, nor did his father. We loved our son and were ready to give him whatever care he needed. It would have been good if my father-in-law was the same. He didn't see or know about my son's condition until the family visited us when my son was 6 months old.
What? Is that a child or monster? Why does he look so ugly?
I was hurt hearing him say that to my child. My husband was also hurt, but his mother and sister signaled us to be calm.
You shouldn't say that about a child. He probably has Down syndrome, according to what I see. You shouldn't speak that way, no matter what.
Down syndrome. But you have no right to say that about my son, Dad. You're being insensitive. But the child is ugly. He looks so hideous. You gave birth to a monster. Why didn't you let him die? He's going to be a liability. A monstrous liability.
I'd had enough of his insensitivity. I stood up and stormed out of the living room with my son. I did hear their loud voices from my room, and I knew they were arguing. Before they left, my mother-in-law and her daughter came into my room and apologized for my father-in-law's behavior. It was so sad that a day I'd planned to be filled with happiness turned out worst. We continued taking care of our son. I refused to allow my father-in-law anywhere close to him. I met up with my mother-in-law and her daughter a few times, but never him. The women loved my son so much, regardless of his issue, and that was all that mattered. On my son's first birthday, we threw a party. It wasn't so big, but big enough to accommodate our families and friends. When the day finally came, my father-in-law ruined it. I was skeptical about inviting him, but I didn't want to be disrespectful by inviting his wife and daughter and not him. Things were going smoothly at the party until my father-in-law requested to give a speech. I smiled, thinking he was going to give an apology speech publicly, but I was wrong. My father-in-law took the mic and began to mock my child. He called him a monster, a sick child, among other vile titles. I burst into tears on my seat. Worst of all, he was laughing while doing that.
If he had Down syndrome and was good-looking, he could have been manageable. But he's as ugly as his mother. I'm sure she agreed to marry my son because she couldn't afford to marry a person as ugly as her.
I was shocked. I had zero idea what suddenly got into him. I couldn't place my hands on a reason he would be doing that to my son and I. Everyone was probably as shocked as me because they remained rooted to their seats with straight faces. Once he was done, he got off the stage with a proud smile and went to his seat. I was about to stand up and leave with my son when my sister-in-law stood up and began walking to the stage. I wondered what she was going to say.
Firstly, you're nothing but an ungrateful, insensitive, bloody fool. You abandoned us for over 15 years. We've hated you all our lives. If it weren't for Sandra, you wouldn't have been with us. Who the hell do you think you are to talk about her son like that? My first nephew?
My tears flowed more as my sister-in-law poured insults on him. Once she was done, a friend of Jace got on the stage.
You're a complete disgrace to all fathers out there. You don't deserve to be called a father.
More people came up on stage and gave him a piece of their minds. I could see the look of guilt in his eyes, seeing that no one accepted him. He tried to approach me with pleading eyes, but my husband stopped him.
I will never let you near them. I should have never allowed you back into our lives.
You've always been an idiot. She made us forgive, and I tried to believe you've changed, but you're still just the stupid man I knew.
I consider myself fatherless from now on. You're evil.
We even accommodate your broke self. Now go back to the house, pack your things, and get out of our lives. If you ever try to come back, I'll report you to the police.
Please, please forgive me. I'll stop it. I'll change, please.
He begged desperately, but his family weren't hearing any of it. Some of our friends grabbed him and threw him out of the party. When we got home and met him there, Jace beat him up so badly that the man escaped by running away without his luggage. It was quite a funny scene. I thanked the family for standing up for my son and I.
You've become my child, and that's my grandson. I won't allow anyone make you both uncomfortable.
You've been good to us, and Down syndrome doesn't make my nephew a monster. We all love him, and we'll protect him.
I don't regret beating him up. He deserves it for messing with my wife and son.
I felt happy and grateful. And as for my father-in-law, he tried to come back for his things, but his daughter gave him another round of beating. That was enough to send him out of our lives forever. Since then, we haven't heard from him. We heard he later got married to a wife who constantly beats him, and unfortunately for them, they had a child with Down syndrome, and Jace's father is depressed. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.
Yet he spends out of the money we work for. We need to put some sense into him soon. He has to work.
I can't steal. It's wrong. A hard slap landed on my face, the force sending me to the floor. Eventually, you're going to join us or get out of our lives. Stealing isn't bad. We're just getting money the easy way, okay?
You're so dumb. There's nothing bad about stealing.
Everything is wrong when it comes to stealing. I knew that, and I made up my mind to never go stealing with them. While my parents walked out, my sister stayed behind. She pulled me by my ear, ignoring my painful cries. Hello there, I'm Charlie, and this is the story of my life. I grew up in a home where my parents didn't have a job, but we lived in a big house and had everything. Well, they had something they called a job, robbing and deceiving people. I had an older sister who always went with them. She hated me just as much as my parents did. One time at the public school I was attending, a classmate had pushed me roughly while calling me ugly. I fell badly, but I didn't fight back. I wasn't one to get violent, so I'd gone to make a report to the principal. The boy got punished, and I felt proud of myself for not fighting. However, my family thought otherwise.
I can't believe my misfortune. How can I be the mother to this weakling?
I feel even worse that you're my brother. How can I face them at school tomorrow? How can I listen to people talk about my brother getting beaten up and not fighting back?
I felt so bad that I rushed into my room, crying. I ignored their mocking sneers as I slammed my room door. I hated myself and deeply regretted not fighting back. I always blamed myself whenever my parents were disappointed. They'd never been proud of me. I wanted to do something to make them proud. So the next time someone tried to initiate a fight with me at school, I didn't hold back. I fought him and even got him injured. I was smiling throughout, and when the principal suspended me for 2 weeks, I was even happier. I couldn't wait to get home and boast to my parents. Unfortunately, when I reached home, the first thing I received was a slap from my dad. I saw stars. I was genuinely confused. A slap was definitely unexpected.
You fool. You go around fighting at school now? And what? You got suspended? You're so stupid.
At least, you could have beaten him up sensibly. Getting yourself suspended over a fight is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well, what do you expect from a stupid person?
Tears couldn't stop flowing out of my eyes. I felt so stupid. How on earth could I expect anything good from them? After the tongue lashing, I retired to my room. The next day, I woke up to see my family preparing for their usual outings. I'd never gone with them to steal, but I often heard them discussing it. One of their techniques was faking a fight on the street. My mom and sister would suddenly get physical with each other, thereby attracting attention. My dad usually watched behind. He would stylishly steal people's wallets and other valuables while they were engrossed in the fight. When they returned home, they would check everything and take out the things with value. They would keep the money, sell the other items, and make even more money. Other times, my mom and sister would go into the streets to beg. My mom would knock on different doors, disguised as a pregnant woman, and crying for help while my sister would pretend to be blind or crippled. There were lots of kind people around, and they never hesitated to help my mom and sister. I always felt so angry and disgusted whenever I heard them talking about it. That morning, when my sister saw me, she frowned.
Dad, since this senseless person is on suspension, why don't we bring him with us?
You just called him senseless. How do we bring a person like him with us? The fool is just going to end up ruining things for us.
Yet he spends out of the money we work for. We need to put some sense into him soon. He has to work.
I can't steal. It's wrong. A hard slap landed on my face, the force sending me to the floor.
Eventually, you're going to join us or get out of our lives. Stealing isn't bad. We're just getting money the easy way, okay?
You're so dumb. There's nothing bad about stealing.
Everything is wrong when it comes to stealing. I knew that, and I made up my mind to never go stealing with them. While my parents walked out, my sister stayed behind. She pulled me by my ear, ignoring my painful cries.
I hate you so much. I wish you were never born. I'm going to make sure you leave our lives because you do not belong here.
She pushed me, and I fell again, my back hitting the ground harshly. Tears gathered in my eyes. My family hated me, no doubt. But I refused to give in to their lifestyle. Never. 2 days later, I needed a textbook, so I went to ask money from my dad.
A textbook? You must be a comedian. If you need money for textbooks, work with us. Stop being so scared and stupid.
I can't do it. Stop forcing me. You're my parents, and I'm still young. You should take care of me. My dad suddenly kicked me so hard that I nearly twisted my ankle as I fell.
You're young? Am I old? I'm young too, and I'm working with our parents. Our job isn't dirty. It's you who's dirty for thinking it's a bad job.
But stealing is bad. You all should know this. My dad angrily stood up and began punching me on the floor, ignoring my cries. He didn't stop until I got so weak and nearly passed out.
Whether you like it or not, you're going to join us very soon. Until then, do not ask me for anything. No one will give him any food for 3 days.
I was left alone in the house, hungry and sad. Throughout the 3 days, my family were away on a vacation in Tokyo, having the time of their lives. When they returned and finally decided to feed me, I felt like a prisoner getting freed. Well, after my 15th birthday, it was finally time to make a decision.
You have only 2 options, boy. Join the business or get out of my house. I cannot continue to feed you if you think my source of income is wrong.
I couldn't join them. No way I was going to steal from people and deceive them. In tears, I took my things and walked out of the house. I had nowhere to go, but I didn't stop walking. I walked until my body gave up. Then I fainted. I was too weak and hungry. When I finally woke up, I was in a strange, beautiful room. I managed to sit up and found a woman staring at me. "Where am I?" She introduced herself as Anita and told me how she found me on the floor and took me with her. I couldn't fully express how grateful I was. I burst into tears, and she quickly came to hug me. After she comforted me, she asked how I got there, and I explained everything to her.
They're cruel. How can they do that to a child?
I started crying again. The woman was touched and asked if I wanted to live with her.
I didn't remarry after my husband's death and I have no child. I will be more than happy to adopt you and take better care of you.
Anita was the parent I never had. She was nothing like my biological parents. Before she adopted me, she took me to the hospital for proper treatment. I also visited a therapist to ensure that I was fine mentally. She made sure I was comfortable with her before she adopted me. And I was sent to a better school where I made good friends. I grew attached to Anita. We were both happy and loved each other like a true family. Her parents loved me too. I never met any of my biological parents' family. Anita's family members were all good like her. I felt like I belonged there with her. When I finally finished high school, she helped me get into an art school I'd never imagined being opportune to attend. I was so grateful to her. Whenever I thanked her, she would ask me not to.
You're my child, Charlie. It's my duty to take care of you. I'm only doing what a good parent should do.
Thanks, Mom. I love you so much. Life was good. I never thought about my real family. They never cared about me, so I didn't either. After art school, I kicked off my art career. I attend different exhibitions to show off my works. Of course, Anita always went with me. I couldn't have asked for a better mom. Eventually, my hard work paid off. I began gaining popularity. I got a bigger studio, and I simply soared from there. I got so many interviews praising my work. Wherever I went, I never failed to talk about Anita. She meant everything to me, and I was proud to show it off. Everyone soon knew her, and my fans even dedicated a special day to thank her for giving birth to her. Of course, no one knew that she wasn't my biological mom. One day, about 2 years after I gained popularity, I got a call from an unknown number. It ended up being my father.
You stupid child. You're rich now and couldn't think about your family. You owe us, boy.
I do not owe you anything. If you ever call me again, I'll report you to the cops.
Go on. If you don't start sending us money from your wealth, I'm going to destroy that stupid career of yours.
I thought he was bluffing until I saw him in the news. He wasn't alone. My mom and sister were there with him.
That woman kidnapped our son from us and made him hate us. Now he won't take care of his sick mother.
I sacrificed so much for him. I feel so heartbroken that my brother could turn his back on us like this.
I couldn't believe my eyes. People soon began talking about it, and most were on their side. I needed to stop them. So, I accepted to be interviewed by the most popular interviewer in the city. I told everything. I told everyone how they tried to make me believe it was good to steal and deceive people. How they punished me and kicked me out when I refused to join them. I told them how Anita found me and how she's been taking care of me ever since. They believed me, not just because of my story, but because people began to recognize them, especially my mother and sister. The love for Anita grew even more, and many people made videos apologizing to her and also thanking her for saving me. The next day, it was in the news that the angry mob had stormed my parents' house and given them a good beating. They were also chased out of the vicinity without a single thing and warned to never show face there again. Afterward, the crowd took out their things. Valuables and money were stolen. The other things were burnt to ashes. My father never kept too much money at the bank. He always left his cash in bags, and those bags had been stolen by the angry mob, leaving him completely broke. They moved far away to an unknown place where they found a very small apartment. They tried to get jobs, but people refused to employ them since everyone knew from the interviews that they were thieves. Their lives were miserable. Unfortunately for them, someone in the new city pressed charges against them for stealing his items, and soon enough, many others followed. The police arrested all 3 of them and threw them behind bars. A popular publishing company contacted me to make a deal with me. They proposed a huge amount if I agreed to them publishing my story as a book. I would also be credited in it. Of course, I agreed. Anita smiled proudly at me on the day the book was officially released.
I'm proud of you, son.
Thank you, Mom. I'm only alive and here because of you. I'm so grateful. I love you so much, Mom.
I love you too, boy.
As long as I live, Anita will remain my precious and only mother. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more stories.
After we eat, Mom makes sure to tell the staff that it's Emily's birthday, and they bring out a big chocolate cake that Mom custom orders beforehand, with Emily's face plastered in the frosting. I hate chocolate, and every year they get it. We're twins. Why does it only ever have Emily's face on the cake? It's my birthday too.
When you get a prettier face, you can be on the cake too.
Even though she's my twin sister, my family always thought Emily was better than me. For whatever reason, my family was really shallow and placed a lot of value on looks. Growing up, Emily never had any of the problems that I did. She was always fit, never had any acne, and had no problem making friends wherever she went. She wasn't just perfect with her looks. She was always top of her class and the top player in any sport. She was everything that I wasn't, and they always reminded me of it.
It boggles my mind how you and Emily are identical sisters, but no one would ever tell that from looking at the two of you.
Good thing one of you got your mother's good looks and my brain. You should study more to be more like her.
We're identical twins. How can you say we don't look alike?
Your nose is definitely bigger.
This went on for years, and despite knowing that she was the favorite, I would still try to impress my parents, to make them acknowledge my existence. I couldn't compete with all the beauty pageants that Emily won or the grades that she brought home to show them, but I still tried anyway. Around age 14, I started spending more time at after-school activities, so I wouldn't have to be around my family so much. I enrolled myself in as many activities as I could. I was happy with how busy I became and didn't have time to think about my parents and Emily. But it quickly backfired on me. In my pursuit of finding who I was outside of my family, I had forgotten how popular Emily was at school. In all of the activities, when I would walk in the room, everyone's eyes would light up, thinking I was her.
Emily, I thought you said you couldn't make the drama audition because of the volleyball tournament.
Did you get enough sleep last night? You look off. Your nose is a little swollen too. Did you bump your nose or something?
I'm not Emily. I'm her twin.
Oh, thank goodness. I was really worried there for a second. I thought something horrible had happened to her to make her look like that.
Most days after school, I would lock myself in my room, trying to forget that I was a twin. I would lay awake thinking about what my life would have been like had I been born 2 minutes later and her 2 minutes earlier. Would she live the life I was having now? Or was she truly better than me like everyone else said she was? Every summer, my parents would take a trip to their lakeside house, and they would take Emily with them. They would always leave me at the house, saying that I needed to stay to take care of our family dog. When they first started doing this, I would get upset at their stupid excuse to leave me behind and forget that they had an ugly daughter. As I got older, I started to appreciate the time alone that I would get away from them. I would crank music up loud and let it echo throughout the house, dancing as hard as I could. Only Angus could see me anyways. He would lay in his dog bed and watch me as I sang and danced in joy. Then it occurred to me, is this what my life be like without Emily in it? Without her always looming over with how much better she was, and without my parents constantly telling me? My life changed with that thought as a new goal formed within me. I had to get away from them, whatever the cost. I was fairly lucky for most of high school to not have her in most of my classes, but my luck ran out junior year. We had biology together. Everyone would flock to her when it came time to do class projects, and I was often stuck with someone who mistook me for her. There was a particularly challenging partner project that our teacher, Ms. Rodnick, assigned in the middle of the year. By this point, everyone knew who the smart students were, and who were the ones you wanted to avoid if you wanted a good grade. Me and the girl who sat next to me were the students to avoid.
Why doesn't anyone ever want to partner with you? Me, I can understand, but you get good grades.
That's the first time I've ever heard someone call a D a good grade.
Still better than what I've been getting. Do you want to partner up for the project? We've been sitting next to each other all year, and I don't think I even know your name. I just know it's not Emily.
Tanya.
Hannah. For the record, I don't get what the big deal is about your sister. Frankly, I think anyone could look however they wanted if they learned how to do makeup.
Makeup, you say? From that point on, Hannah and I were inseparable. She was the first person who thought I was smart. The frosting on the cake? She didn't like Emily. We would do everything together. The more I got to know her, the more we found in common with one another. She'd moved from another state because she was so badly bullied at her old school. She told me that she saw a lot of herself in me when I explained about Emily and my parents. For the first time in my life, I had found someone who seemed to actually care about me. She was like the stereotypical sister that I would see in the movies. We went shopping and talked about boys. I told her that I could never really think about anyone like that because I was so unattractive. At this, she became angry. "No one is ugly, least of all you," she said as she shook me. "You're sleeping over tonight, and we're binge-watching makeup tutorials until you can figure out how to get that thought out of your head." We did this for weeks, practicing makeup on each other, making each other look like all these YouTube makeup influencers. It was during these sleepovers that I first experienced the sensation of looking in the mirror and feeling beautiful. I was so relieved and happy that I cried while Hannah patted my back lovingly. It was then that I became passionate about making other people feel the same way, making others feel beautiful with makeup. I began to practice on myself at home more and more regularly. As I was walking out the door one day to go to school, my mom was particularly nice to me.
Why are you so quiet this morning, dear? You always say goodbye to me before you leave.
I never say goodbye to you.
Tanya, I thought you were Emily. Get out of here. You're late.
It was a bittersweet moment then. I had gotten good enough at makeup for my mom to confuse me with Emily, but still. Senior year, Hannah did something for me that I will never forget. My birthday was coming up quickly, and Hannah wanted to do something to celebrate. I told her I wanted to ignore it. My birthday is usually the day that I hate the most. Every year, they take both of us to a fancy restaurant. It's always humiliating. Emily always get an amazingly beautiful birthday dress for the occasion, and I'm stuck wearing the dress that she got last year that she doesn't want anymore. Even though we're twins, our bodies aren't quite the same. While the dresses look amazing on her, they fit me awkwardly, with loose bunches of fabric everywhere. To make matters worse, Emily would always soak her old dress in vinegar before giving it to me. I could never get rid of the smell no matter how many times I washed it. It's the only dress I could possibly wear to the birthday dinner, and I make other restaurant goers gag as I walk by. The three of them think it's hilarious and laugh as we walk to the table. After we eat, Mom makes sure to tell the staff that it's Emily's birthday, and they bring out a big chocolate cake that Mom custom orders beforehand, with Emily's face plastered in the frosting. I hate chocolate, and every year they get it. We're twins. Why does it only ever have Emily's face on the cake? It's my birthday too.
When you get a prettier face, you can be on the cake too.
I told Hannah about why I hated my birthdays, and she became furious.
You know what? You're getting a new birthday. The day before your birthday is all about you. You were born first, so you should celebrate first anyways. Keep your day open, okay?
I was skeptical, but she had already proven that I could trust her, so I agreed. She was really adamant about it. The weeks that led up to my birthday, I grew more and more curious. I would ask Hannah for more details, but she would just smile at me. The day before my birthday finally came, and I had no idea what to expect. I kept checking my phone for text messages from Hannah, but there was nothing. I heard Emily squealing downstairs all of a sudden. "Oh my gosh, you guys got me a limo this year?" I looked out the window and a long black limo laid in our street. Before my parents could respond, Emily ran out to the limo and tried to open the door. It was locked. Hannah popped her head up from inside and yelled to me, "Get your beautiful butt in here, Tanya." Emily stood with her jaw dropped. As I ran down the stairs, my parents tried to stop me. "Where are you going? Where did you get the money to rent a limo?" I ignored them as I rushed through the door. Outside, Emily was motionless as Hannah stepped outside of the limo, brandishing the most beautiful dress I had ever seen. "Is this for me?"
Of course. I had my dad custom fit it to fit you perfectly. No vinegar smell either.
"Where did you get this limo?"
Oh, my brother owns his own limo company, and he let me borrow this one to take you to your surprise.
We got into the limo together and drove away from my house. My parents stood on the porch watching me drive away. Emily stood in the parking lot, her mouth still ajar with her eyes still wide in disbelief. "So what's the surprise?"
Remember how you did my mom's friend's makeup? Her name is Justina Caldone. I didn't tell you because I thought you would be nervous, but she's actually a successful fashion designer who was looking for a makeup artist for her latest show. It was like a job interview, really. She was really impressed. We're going to the show now. You're doing the model's makeup.
What? Really? That was one of the most magical nights of my life. I had never seen so many people in such extravagant clothing before. The dress that Hannah got me fit wonderfully. As I moved to each model, I felt almost as if I was gliding across the floor. Each one was super impressed with their makeup and told me how skilled I was and how beautiful I looked. After the show ended, Hannah presented me with a giant vanilla cake with my face on it. I never cried so much in one night before. It was a happy cry. While the two of us were eating the cake, Justina asked if I would become her full-time makeup artist. I readily agreed. Immediately after graduation, I moved out of my parents' house. For the next 5 years, I traveled with her abroad, working alongside her. My face was always on the cover of some magazine talking about what an up-and-comer I was. Eventually, I got enough traction to start my own makeup company. It's doing great. I'd never in my wildest dreams have thought I'd be where I am today. I don't think my parents or Emily thought I ever would either. 7 years after Hannah gave me that new birthday, I received a call. "Hello."
Is this Tanya? It's your mother.
Hmm?
Listen, I know we didn't always treat you the best growing up, but look at where you are now. We're in a bit of trouble now and could use some help.
Mom explained that shortly after I moved out, Emily became obsessed with her image. She became addicted to plastic surgery and would have Mom and Dad pay for the procedures. They quickly cut her off and refused to pay, so she would steal the money from them. Mom and Dad are penniless now, and they're at risk of losing their house. Emily ran away after a botched nose job surgery, and they have no idea where she is.
Can you help us? Everywhere I look, I see how successful you are. I know we weren't the kindest to you growing up, but I think if you look in your heart, you'll see that we are the reason you've gotten to be where you are. You owe us. I'm your mother. This is the least you could do.
I am where I am because I worked my butt off to get away from you. I achieved that. Me. Good luck with the house, Linda. I hung up before she could respond, and I never heard from her again. A few weeks later, I heard my parents couldn't afford to pay their mortgage. They were kicked out of the house and are now living on the streets. They both work in a warehouse lifting boxes every day and are being bullied by the young, agile workers because they are slow and old. As for Emily, I saw on the news that she committed suicide after she was laughed at for her appearance and bullied. I have a new life now without them, a better one, and that's the best revenge I can get. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.